Hey, folks, I'm so delighted to have a special guest in my office, and I'm going to let Cal just say hello and tell you a little bit about what he does, but we're going to have a conversation about public lands, which is super timely because Cal's here to testify at a subcommittee hearing in about an hour on this subject. So, Cal, tell us a little bit about the work you do, who you are, and why public lands are something that we should never take for granted.
Well put. I appreciate the intro. Ryan Callaghan, I'm the president and CEO of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We advocate for public lands, waters, and wildlife and access to those things, and believe wholeheartedly that it is America's public lands and our conservation infrastructure that promote some of the best qualities that our American citizens display. So the freedom to recreate and push yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, just creates better Americans. And we'll probably be talking about LWCF today. And that's one of those programs that puts the outdoors within reach of people in the biggest cities to the smallest rural communities.
Super important. I want to come back to LWCF, but just on this issue of public lands, tell me, you've hunted and fished all over this country in some of the most amazing remote places that are accessible to you and any other American just by virtue of being an American. That's pretty cool. And not everybody has that around the world. Why is that just part of our heritage that we should really be proud of and protect?
That's a great question. And it is simply that we demanded to have this. And we came very close a couple of times in the history of this nation to not having any of it. Hunters, anglers went out into the wilds and they said, hey, we got to stop what we're doing and come up with a better system, or it's all going to be gone. So you look at the migratory bird populations that we have in this country, that's because of a biology-based regulated management system where we protect the entire migration journey from its nesting grounds to the rearing grounds and everything in between. Big game species across America have benefited from this same system. And it's because we demanded that this stuff be important to us, and it still is today.
Yeah, and we put some institutions in place. You know, we have everything from our national forests to our national parks to our BLM lands and designations of every kind. But we also have this Land and Water Conservation Fund, which has been for over 50 years this incredibly important tool to create some money so that we can fill in the patchwork of land ownership and other things that kind of frustrate the access that we need to fully enjoy public lands. Let's talk a little about LWCF, as we call it, because it's a little less bipartisan these days than it has been for 50 plus years. Trump administration has been diverting these funds to things that were not intended uses. They've been giving governors and county politicians veto power over what kind of projects get funded. Talk about why that's heading in the wrong direction for LWCF.
Yeah, dude, you're exactly correct. Many of the great things that we have were nonpartisan ventures, and some of those are being skewed and twisted to seem like they're a partisan ideal that represents something that is just completely out of the context. So LWCF uses offshore oil and gas excise taxes. It's a non-taxpayer funded program, fully funded through the Great American Outdoors Act. And it does provide that connectivity literally in every county. Most of America has seen the benefit of LWCF.
Almost every place on the map has had an LWCF
tangible way. The number one barrier to getting people outside is access. You gotta have some place to go. And LWCF is an incredible tool. It's not the only tool, but it's an incredible tool in our belt to provide that connectivity to small streams, rivers with boat ramps, easements, lots of simple outside projects that are available to all end users, not specific to any particular group, but they are absolutely vital to the hunter and angler in America.
And then last, I want to ask you a little bit about the refuge system, which is another way that we have just done really important public land protection and access. There's an unfortunate mentality right now. I see it in the Department of Interior with Secretary Burgum, where he sort of thinks of this whole public lands portfolio as like assets on a corporate balance sheet that can be monetized and liquidated. They've talked about selling off vast areas. They've stood in the way of a refuge expansion in Texas that was non-controversial, that was really well designed, that would have met some very important conservation needs and been good for hunters. What do you think is going on with our refuge system? Should we be concerned about it? Everything from the Arctic refuge to these land sell-off schemes that we're seeing.
I think concern is appropriate for sure. I would love to have the time with Secretary Burgum to talk about the importance of these assets in perpetuity, because I think we're thinking about them in the near and short term, and that's not the program. This is like the crown jewel of conservation in the world, not just America. Like the rebound of migratory bird species in North America is just a story that cannot be topped worldwide.
I don't think most Americans know this story. I mean, didn't this get started back in the Teddy Roosevelt era because we were gathering feathers for
the millinery trade?
Yeah,
and absolutely. So
Florida,
unregulated harvest, right? So and that was self-imposed, and that's like one of the greatest things. This is the end user. This isn't a quote unquote government overreach thing. This is the end user saying, hey, we have got to change the way we do this, or else there will be no more ducks in fancy restaurants in the city, among many other things. So this refuge system, again, and it's expanding all the way into the Yukon, through Canada, and down into Mexico, shows how our wildlife doesn't see borders, doesn't see three-strand barbed wire fences. It's connectivity. And it's up to us to look back in our history and say, hey, we did this amazing thing. We need to continue it on in perpetuity.
Yeah. Cal, I so appreciate you and your organization. You're such incredible advocates, messengers. I know that a few months ago in the dark of night, when there was an attempt to sell off a whole bunch of public lands, you and your colleagues and a lot of hunters and anglers around the country raised a ruckus, and it made a difference. So we need you. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks.